Alright, today I'll be profiling, I'll be updating my Traptrix Ninja deck, namely because a lot of people that I follow on YouTube have been putting up control decks and trap decks, and I didn't want to be late to the party, and the deck is actually finished this time, so I think it's a good time. I did want to profile it earlier, but I was actually trying to update my card rarities this time, but I'm not really going to wait for that, so I'm just going to profile the deck quickly and then explain the card choices at the end. This way you don't have to actually listen to me explain the card choices as I go through the deck, and you can just see what I run, and then if you want to stay for card explanations, you can do that. So I'll go quickly through it, and then I'll explain at the end exactly what does what. So let's start with 3 Hanzo still, 3 Mermelio, 3 Dynea, and then the flavor monsters again are 1 Thunder King, 1 Dark Samorg, 1 Barrier Statue, and then 1 Upstart Golden Ninja, which no more effect railers, and I'll talk about Upstart Golden Ninja at the end, or exactly why I'm running it or not, or exactly why I'm running it now. For the spells, still 3 Rhoda, 3 Duality. It's one of the cards I wanted to update. 1 Regeki, 1 Book of Moon, 1 Armor Ninjutsu. Whoops. 1 Armor Ninjutsu of Alchemy. Those are all the spells. And then for the traps, which is of course the bulk of the deck, you have the 2 Ninjutsu of Transformation, Bottomless, Time Space Trap Hole, and Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare and Time Space Trap Hole. Not actually 2 Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare this time, just one of each of these. So 3 Trap Holes. Again, still 3 Mind Crush, 3 Fiendish Chain, 2 Call of the Haunted, 2 Dimensional Prison, which is another card I'm going to talk about at the end. This card is on all Torrential Tribute, 1 Torrential Tribute. It's another big card. It's actually really big in this deck. It's not just a good chop in this deck. It actually has some combos. 1 Vanity's Emptiness and 1 Solemn Warning. So alright, so that's actually just the deck. I know there's been some people looking at ninjas because of there's been some leaks about ninjas in the next set, and there's actually a few other reasons ninjas have been looked at recently, like kaiju. There's a lot of ninja synergy and etc. But ninjas have been had a little bit of focus on them recently. So let me get my list, and then so the profile is done, I'm actually just going to talk about some card choices now. Namely, Torrential, a little bit on D-Prison, a little bit on Book of Moon, or exactly what its place is in the meta right now. It's not exactly a card choice in this deck. 1 Upstart Golden Ninja, and that's actually it. I'm going to explain card choices right now, and then after the card choices, I'm going to go into plays that the deck has and play styles and things you should think about when you're playing this deck. Let's start with the more important ones first. Let me zoom out, actually. Zoom out a bit. Okay. Start with the big ones first. First, it's the monster Upstart Golden Ninja. The reason I added this and actually took out effect veilers is effect veilers since between now and my last profile, Towers, Turbo, Klee has become a pretty big thing, and effect veiler has 0 placement in the matchup, and Burning Abyss has become more popular, and effect veiler isn't the necessity to out Denko isn't as important as to ability to out Klee or Towers or etc. So Upstart Ninja is probably actually one of the best options in this deck to out Towers, namely because it's searchable by Rhoda. Like a lot of Towers outs actually are searchable by Rhoda. But this card is searchable by Rhoda, and if you use Call of the Haunted on the Hanzo, you can search it from your deck as well. And it's actually, even just if you're not playing Towers, it's actually just kind of like a free rank 4. But I don't like this card a lot because, well, first let me actually speak. Oh, actually, I didn't finish profiling the deck. Well, I guess I can do this really quickly. The extra deck, Castel 101, Karen Gorgon 103, 80. This is just filler. This is your towers out, which this is why this is what reminded me that I didn't do the extra deck and side deck. Tolimus, Diamond. There's a lot of rank 5s actually. Pleiades, Durandal, and Tyrus. Just Tolimus targets, and actually this is actually a really big part of the deck. Actually, this is one of the reasons I should talk about my side deck is Spell Fragrance. When you side into Spell Fragrance against Cleafort and Necros, since you do have the option to actually make a Samorg block where you flip this, and if they don't have an MST, just transform your Hanzo into Samorg, and then they can't set their spells, and that's actually just a game winner straight out. And then all your other traps can like compensate for their outs. Like if they're trying to out, especially post side like versus Necros, where you're siding like Effect Veiler and stuff like that. Like they're gonna try to out either this or Samorg, most likely this with a monster effect like Excited Knight or Castel. And all that time you're just drawing into traps that stop those cards like Traptrix Nightmare and Fiendish Chain and Bottomless and everything. So this card is really a game winner when you fight it in against Necros and stuff like that. So it's really an important card. I don't main it because there's some matchups it's not good in, and even if it's matchups that it is good in, if you draw it late, like it's more of a blowout that you have to like pray for. It's not like it's just a reliable card because you have to actually draw it earlier than you have to actually basically just draw it turn 1 for it to be good. So I sided in because it does have bad matchups. 2 Imperial Iron Walls, always also game winners. This card's like basically an Effect Veiler or a Fiendish Chain against Trishula. So if they Trish you, you can just flip this and basically negate its effect. So it's kind of, if you think about it like that, just think about it like a breakthrough skill that hits a really important card in the Necros matchup. And of course against Ritual Beasts and Infernoids, you sided in because it's simply a blowout. And it's also a continuous trap. So if you're scared of Denko, you just flip this early, and then basically they have to both Denko, which means Denko doesn't advance them. Actually, they don't like plus off of it, and they have to play around this. So this card's really good. I would run 3, but I don't really care to run 3. 1 Light Imprisoning Mirror instead of a Stygian Dirge. I put this card in over Stygian Dirge because of Cosmos. I prefer Stygian Dirge because it hits a lot of other decks like Tellers, of course, which this hits, and then anything else like Burning Abyss or whatever. But I'll put this in because it also covers a Cosmo matchup, which Stygian Dirge doesn't. On Soul Drain, it's just Soul Drain. It's kind of like a hit everything, Yang Zing or whatever. Compulse, I don't main Compulse because it's actually not a card to main. It's actually not a main deck card because a lot of cards a lot of decks you don't really care about this card. This card is mostly for like Heroes and Shadows and Burning Abyss if you want to side it in, but I probably don't. So I side this card in because it's basically just a free out to any like problematic extra deck card. If you're running into those cards, but if you're not running into those cards, or if you like against Cleafort, it's not good. It's just not good against a lot of matchups, so I don't main it. I think it's just a good side. Actually, this is one of the cards I'm not finished with. Is I'm actually running 3 Typhoon, and this is actually kind of in study right now because, well, right now I'm siding 3 Typhoon and 3 MST, or 1 Typhoon and 3 MST because I don't have all 3 Typhoons. Basically against Klee and all that, but I would probably use 3 Typhoon because game 2 against Cleafort you can just hand trap towers and hand trap their scout and a lot of other stuff, and also plays around your own anti-spell fragrance, so you can just set this if your anti-spell fragrance is up and then flip it. Thing is, there's a lot of pros and cons between Typhoon and MST, which I'm not gonna actually talk about right now because it's actually not the most important theory behind this deck, but I do advocate this card a lot right now. It's really pretty strong. Lastly, it's and 1 Effect Veiler. Basically, you side this in against Necros because it still hits a lot of stuff, and it's in Denko out. So, oh man, I can't believe I didn't even say this. But this card, Anti-Spell Fragrance, if you flip this, it's also your best Denko out as well. It's better than Warning. It's better than Effect Veiler. Because if you flip this, they can't summon Denko because then they can't send their they can't summon Denko over you because they can't actually set their own spells at that point. So basically, this card basically says you don't summon Denko. It basically tells your opponent you can't summon Denko if you want to play this game. So this card just covers everything. It has very strong synergy in the deck with your Samorg. It also has synergy with your Mermelio, where you can end phase Mermelio, pop one of their spells. Of course, it outs Denko. It's such a strong card in this deck. Like, I have to advocate it. You have to use it. It's one of the cards that's not budget. It's basically one of the most important cards in this deck that's not budget for you. So that's that. All right, so going back, that's actually that's the end of the profile now. And then I forgot about the extra deck and side deck. I'm not gonna give any more card choices about them. I'm just gonna go back and about my changes in the main deck. So, Upstart Golden Ninja. This card could be like Assault Halberd or whatever, like any other card. This card out could also be any other like Goblinberg or. And you could also tell me that basically I shouldn't run Excalibur. I should just run Crab King because Crab King is. It's more generic and it's like it doesn't require warriors or anything, but the truth of the matter is you're actually not using rank 4s that often, unless you have a Dianea, and this is just half the time you're going to be making a warrior rank 4 anyways, especially if they have towers. So this card is basically your best towers out because it's basically a 1-card towers out. The trap is basically a non-issue because you run enough traps. I only run 1, even though I do know that if you run, you're supposed to run 2 minimally, because if you use this effect and you special summon a Hanzo from your deck, Hanzo's effect triggers or to add a ninja from your deck to your hand that's not actually Hanzo himself. So basically, if you use Upstart Ninja effect, you're supposed to go into Hanzo, and then Hanzo effect switches you another ninja. It's supposed to be another Upstart Gold Ninja. But the fact is, I don't want to run 2 of this, and I'd rather not just get a free plus off of Hanzo. I'd rather just not use this plus effect and just have 1 Upstart Golden Ninja in my deck because, first off, I don't care about adding more Upstart Golden Ninjas to my hand because they're useless. After you can't use, you never want to use a second one, because if you use the second one, that means you're getting another Hanzo from your deck, and then that's 2 Hanzos you didn't normal summon in your deck, and that's just not good for you. If you run 2 of this card, basically you always want to go into another Upstart Golden Ninja, just never go into your Hanzo. And that actually opens up light rank 4 plays in your deck, like Bujinte, Tsukiyomi, which is actually kind of good in ninjas because you can discard Dark Samorg or Apex Avian. And then Starleech Paladynamo or Stellar Knight Omega or whatever, stuff like that. But this is your towers out. I added them for towers. That's basically it. That's basically what he does. And then Torrential Tribute. I'm actually really excited to talk about this card right now. I'm gonna tell you the main combo, or the basically single only combo it actually has in this deck, but it's actually really cool and really like interactive, and if you use it correctly, it can be kind of a blowout. So let's say you have a Hanzo, or say you open up with Hanzo and Torrential Tribute, and then let's say you open Hanzo and Torrential Tribute, and then you normal Hanzo, you search a transformation from your deck. Right, and then you set Torrential. Sorry, I'm playing this backwards, or I'm playing this upside down, so it's not intuitive. And your opponent's making a push, right? And then they summon like a board, whatever kind of board, big or small, whatever. You just gotta use your kind of instincts. You gotta kind of use your instincts and knowing when exactly to Torrential, but that's not important right now. Say they make the board, and then you finally feel ready to Torrential Tribute, right? What you don't do is you don't just flip Torrential straight out, but you whoops, that's Torrential. You flip your transformation, Chain Link 1, Tribute or Hanzo, right? And then, this is just so cute. And then you flip Torrential, Chain Link 2, and then it wipes the board when you have no monsters, basically. And then, after Chain Link 2 resolves, your transformation resolves, special summoning something from your deck that dodges Torrential Tribute. And this is, I'm so excited about this combo. Like, Ritual Beasts have it, and some other decks have it, like Cosmos can do it. But we can do it too, and I think it's really cool. And like, say you're playing against Burning Abyss, right? Like, they make like double Dante, and say like they have a Graph and Seer underneath both those Dantes, right? If you use this combo, right, and they have like Graph or Seer, and you're about to you destroy them, you can Chain Link. You can actually just summon the Barrier statue from your deck, Chain Link 1, and then they can't special summon off of Graph of Seer after Torrential. So basically, and they can't special summon afterwards. So this card can be such a blowout, and then. Or you don't have to get your Barrier statue. Like, say they don't have the Graph or Seer, they just have a bunch of inconsequential Burning Abyss underneath their Dantes. You just go into Samorg, right? Chain Link 1, it's safe from Torrential, and then Dantes recover whatever. The thing is, like, after they already extended with their monsters, like, they probably can't extend much anymore. And then Samorg just kind of blows them out because they can't set anything afterwards now either, so they can't set, and then you probably used up all their monsters, or they probably like made all their huge big monster extension for that turn. So basically they're just gonna have a clear board until next turn, and then use Samorg. And Samorg is actually just bigger than Dante, so this card's, if you can make the Samorg against Burning Abyss kind of early, this card's just kind of amazing, especially before they start milling, so they don't mill breakthrough skills or galaxy cyclones and stuff like that. So this combo against certain matchups is just a complete burnout, a blowout. It's against Burning Abyss, against Ritual Beast, against any matchup, even against Necros. I mean, like if they make their monster extension and Necros and you make this play and then you go into your burning barrier statue, assuming they already made like their Manju play or whatever and they can't normal summon in that turn, they basically have no more plays. And then if they don't have any more normal summons, this card's gonna stall them for a good while. And then if you can just keep on drawing traps and then never let them establish themselves after that, it's a really good combo. And I think Torrential Tribute in this deck is not just like a good card, like it's a good card in any deck, but this card's just this card is an absolute blowout in this deck. If you have, it's a very easy combo to draw too. Basically, the only limiting factor is actually drawing Torrential itself. Drawing Hanzo is actually just part of your deck. It's just something you assume that's going to happen eventually, pretty easily. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. I've never seen Ninja players talk about their ability to dodge the Torrential. So I'm like kind of happy that I feel like I'm the first person to actually talk about it in that sense. So it's a huge card in this deck. It's a huge card, and if you draw it, you know, you can. I don't know, if you draw it, it's really good. And then the two other cards I want to talk about is Book of Moon and Dimensional Prison. I left this card in, and I took out Magic Planter actually because this card, like, I noticed like when I'm playing at an event or something, I don't have a Burning Abyss. I don't really have a Burning Abyss matchup. Like, I don't have any blowout cards against Burning Abyss outside of that, you know, Torrential play, and obviously just what your deck does. So I just think Torrential Tribute's a better battle trap than Mirror Force generally. It's just the best form of removal. The only bad thing about this card is it actually targets unlike Mirror Force. So, you know, if Cosmo's being a thing, you can't actually get rid of their Forerunner of this, and your deck can actually have a problem. Maybe getting rid of Forerunner because you do target. You know, mostly you do a lot of targeting. So, but still, I do think this card's better than Mirror Force in basically anything. Like just basically in any context. So. 2-Dimensional Prison and no Mirror Force, and then Book of Moon was basically just for your Burning Abyss matchup, just to have a card for Burning Abyss. Against anything else, it's really not a card at all. This card's like when you don't think about the meta at all and just think about this card and just think about this card alone, like this, you might like it just kind of dawns on you. This card's actually not that good. It's just flexible. It's just simply flexible. The only reason people are really just like running this card right now, you see everybody running it, is because the legacy of Jin and Burning Abyss and their legacies actually just made this card a staple, and I don't think this card deserves staple status at all. But I do want a card against Burning Abyss, so I leave it in. I usually get sided out for Spell Fragrance, because when you side in Spell Fragrances, you actually just want to side out your spells, or most of your spells. You don't want to side out Dualities, because Duality actually lets you dig for Spell Fragrance, and you don't want to side out Rotive, because that's just siding out engine cards. You kind of want to side out Book of Moon and maybe Regeki against Necros, because you don't really need Regeki against Necros. It's not really necessary. It's just like you kind of just want to play Regeki just because it's Regeki, but when you really think about it, there's a lot of matchups that Regeki actually doesn't do much for you, and then Necros is kind of one of those matchups. So side out Regeki and Book of Moon for anti-spell fragrances versus Necros, especially if you're going first. If you're going second, you can be a bit more intuitive. I'm actually not going to tell you about siding strategies right now because that might take a little bit, but let me see. I have a list here. What else I wanted to talk about? Thunder King in this deck. Unlike in a lot of decks I run Thunder King, a lot of control decks I run Thunder King, this card actually conflicts with you a lot. Like if you put this down and it actually lives, even though it's doing work for you, if it's staying on the field, you're probably drawing into like Rotas, Mermelios, Hanzos, and you can't use them because of Thunder King's on the field. So it kind of happens sometimes where you actually need to get rid of him so you can advance yourself. Like you not advancing yourself is probably more hindering to you than your opponent not advancing themselves, unless it's Necros, of course. And even if it is Necros, they can just hard draw stuff where the stuff that you're hard drawing is just traps and it's not plus stuff. So let's see what else. Okay. I see a lot of people, or first I'm going to talk about Samorg versus Avian as well. This video might be a little long. I'm going to talk about Samorg versus Avian. Where's Samorg though? Actually, I don't have an Avian for you. I'm just going to assume you know what it does. Namely, people just assume that Avian's just straight up better than Samorg, basically, because Negate and Destroy. When you read into the words Negate and Destroy, you just basically like assume a card is good. First off, when you're running Avian, you have to shotgun your transformation. you absolutely have to. It just forces you to shotgun transformations. Whereas what you really want to do is use it as a trap. Don't use it as a floodgate. Like, you want to flip transformation when you need it, not just in a standby phase, because they can just out. Like, if negating and destroying was actually good, wouldn't UAs be meta? Like, wouldn't perfect ace be like a meta defining card where it isn't? Some more straight up wins matches where Apex Avian kind of just puts pressure for one turn, and once they do out it, it's outed forever essentially. Like, it's basically outed forever. So I do want to flip transformation as an actual trap, not just like as a floodgate, not in the standby phase. I want to flip it like whenever I want to. So, because if you're making Apex Avian, you cannot go into your Mermelios when you need it. You cannot go into your barrier statue when you need it. Where's barrier statue? You can't go into barrier statue when you need it. So basically, I just prefer Dark Summoner because card actually wins games. And then Apex Avian just helps them, I don't like it so much. Ninjas have a weakness in that if they chain MST or Twister or whatever, or Royal Decree or whatever to your transformation, you lose both your Hanzo and your transformation, which is actually just neg 1. It's actually neg 2 because Hanzo probably got your transformation in the first place. So what you want to do really is you just want to save your there's this conundrum, right? If you're playing against a good player, and they know what your deck does, they're not just confused about what you're gonna do, and they know exactly what you're trying to do, what your game plan is. And when it's their end phase and they set some cards, right? A good player is likely going to either hold the MST. They probably might hold the MST, or they might set it because of Fierce Morg. A lot of people just Fierce Morg straight out, and they never actually think about Mermelio coming in. So sometimes when you go into their end phase, and they know you're trying to make a Mermelio to pop their newly set cards, they're actually just going to hold the MST and then chain it to your transformation. So it's actually your job as a player to read that and read exactly what they're trying to do to you is, and if how'd I put it? If you really feel like they held the MST, you can just go into take your turn and then pop one of their cards and just assume they don't have MST. So there's a lot of interactions there. But as a ninja player, I'm sorry I had to cut out, but I was talking about in-phase Mermelio. It's not so important, but you should just kind of be aware of how people play MSTs versus you. Also, in profiling my extra deck, I had an exciting. Let's sit that on my extra deck somewhere. What was next? Oh yeah. I was gonna talk about opening hands a little bit. And this is kind of like low-level theory now, but this stuff is kind of like a protocols that you should know, or not you should know. I mean, it could be obviously like be transformed. There might be times where this is incorrect, or metas this is incorrect, but one of the strengths this deck actually had or has is that it was a good turn 1 deck. It was a good turn 1 deck when against the meta that actually wanted to go second most of the time. Like Necros and Shadows would choose to go second, where that was actually beneficial for you. So playing on the fact of how to play your turn 1 optimally. Actually, let me get one more card out of here. First off, sometimes you'll draw Rhoda and Hanzo, and this might seem like inconsequential, but actually, for some reason, it happens a lot. So sometimes you draw Rhoda and a Hanzo, and your options at this point as a player are either just normal Hanzo or Rhoda into another Hanzo. Now, normally I just Rhoda into another Hanzo, and this card's still a blank card to my opponent. He doesn't know what this is in my hand, and then I'll summon that Hanzo and I'll use its effect. But this can largely depend on the matchup, such as versus towers. Obviously, you might want to save the Rhoda for your upstart ninja. Whereas, and just like, because normally when you're using Rhoda first, ideally you're just playing on Mind Crush. That's basically what you're doing. This way, if you use Rhoda later, the Hanzo doesn't get crushed out of your hand. Whereas if you use Rhoda on turn 1, you get a Hanzo from your deck, normal summon that Hanzo. And then later, when you normal summon this Hanzo, he doesn't know it's actually in your hand. Whereas if you wrote into another Hanzo later, he does know the Hanzo's in your hand, and it can get crushed. Where also against Necros, if you have this hand, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself whether or not you can play around Trish. If you can play around Trish, whereas like setting your whole hand, like perhaps you want to use a duality. Perhaps you want to use the duality and that actually puts a card in your grave so it can Trish you. At that point, you want to play around Trish, and you just use the Hanzo in your hand, and then you set the Rhoda in your hand so you have no hand. Whereas if you use the Rhoda for another Hanzo, this Hanzo is going to stay in your hand, and then they can Trish out of it. So that's the thing about using Hanzo or Rhoda first. Also, when you have duality and a floater like Hanzo and Aurelio, ideally, I mean, this is just straight up math. It's not actually like confirmed theory or anything, but ideally you want to search first and then duality second. This way you don't actually duality into one of the cards you could have searched for. Now this is like minimal impact. This is really just like the corners. It's not really important, but the only time you really need a duality before you actually search is when you absolutely need a normal summon. Like say you have Hanzo and duality, but you really need Aurelio. At that point, you really can just skip the minimalist like statistics stuff and just go for duality first and hope you draw Aurelio instead of actually just summoning your Hanzo. Like say against Cleafor, you just need a bottomless. You know, like they're gonna pen summon next turn, and you really just don't want to use your Hanzo. You want a bottomless, so try to dig from Aurelio then. And also, lastly, sometimes you'll have Hanzo and sometimes you'll have Aurelio in your opening hand, and it kind of depends on which one you actually normal summon first. If you know exactly what your matchup is, you can just go for whatever's strongest. Like against Necros, this can search out Traptrix Ninja, and this can search out Barrier Statue, basically. And depending on what your back row is, like whether or not you're playing around Denko or whatever, you kind of have to be on the fly about which one's actually better for a particular time. But game one, turn one, when you actually don't know what your opponent's playing, honestly, I just go for Hanzo. I just summon the Hanzo because he can actually pop back row. He can actually prevent special summons. He can just make a beater, prevent LTKs. Even though preventing special summons actually is preventing LTKs at the same time. So I actually just go for Hanzo first and Aurelio second. That's actually not cutting edge theory or anything. Next, if you open up with two Hanzos or Hanzo and a Rhoda, you actually have the option to the first Hanzo goes through your transformation, and if you're playing like a back row deck against like if you're playing against a back row deck like Satellar's, so basically you have two Hanzo, one Hanzo's in your hand, and the first Hanzo goes for your transformation, and then say you're playing against Satellar's or something, and then you end phase make Aurelio and pop a back row on their turn. And then on your next turn, you summon the second Hanzo. Second Hanzo actually just searches out. It doesn't go for another transformation, it goes for this alchemy. And this is basically a play that you can make. It's actually it advances you kind of far. And then you overlay these two for rank 4. And then you use alchemy, and then you draw 2 cards. So alchemy, again, like I said earlier, it's a combo piece, it's an engine piece, and you kind of want to run this over Magic Planter because of the option to actually do that, add to your deck. And then the third Hanzo in your deck, or the third Hanzo and the rest of your Rhodas in your deck, just go for the last transformation target, which can be used as a response to, it can be used as itself. What else? Let me see. Where's my list? Let's see. So 2 Hanzos. Who to summon first? Rhoda, Hanzo. Oh, and I don't remember if I said this, but if you do draw the Rhoda and the Hanzo, you can just straight up save this for Upstart Ninja if you find out you're playing against Clee, and then Upstart Ninja can be used to out towers. Whereas if you just searched another Hanzo straight away, you wouldn't have the towers out unless you had called the Haunted for some time. So there's things like that to think about. What else? I'm talking about how much this deck actually costs. This deck is actually, like, I advocated it to a lot of people because it's actually really cheap. And just cycle through every card and try to remember what the prices are. Boogeyman you don't actually have to run, but it's like a 40-cent card. Not even 40 cents. It's a few cents. Deep Prison common I think is $1 or $2. Torrential Tribute comes as common. These are cents. Hanzo, the ulti Hanzos became more expensive recently. I think some vendors are buying them out because of they expect future hype, but the secrets and the ultras are still 40 cents each, so it's really cheap. Thunder King comes as a common, cheap. Comes cheap. Call Haunted obviously cheap. Deep Prison. Phoenix Chain's another card that might cost you a bit. I think they're $6 at the cheapest, but and then Mind Crush are also $3 each. So there's actually some cards you might want to invest in, but ultimately I don't think it comes out past maybe like $30. So it's actually a really fair number, especially for a deck as powerful as this. Like, I honestly can't think of a deck as powerful as this that comes out to $30. The Trap Holes, Regeki actually, that's actually half of $30 already, so it's $15. Let's see. So yeah, one of the reasons I advocate this deck a lot is because of how cheap it actually is and how competitive it is for its price. The extra deck can cost you a lot, but you actually don't go into the extra deck a lot. Didnt is your only extra deck play, and you don't make it like constantly. And even when you do, like, the best option might be one of these two. It's not actually like the most expensive ones, like Rex Item. Or actually, these two are actually kind of necessary as well. The Constellars, Diamond and Durandal. So 2 Hanzo play. The End Phase MST. I think I've covered everything. The rest of the stuff can be kind of it's pretty intuitive. Yeah, I think that's good enough for now. So I'm gonna end the video here, and edit it, and then whatever. Thanks for watching again. Peace.